They say with anything, your first impression is crucial. Will you like what you see? Will you want to go back for more? Or do you think you should push it to the side in favor of other things? Well, that's what this series is all about, as I spend 1 hour each week to a special game to see if it's worth returning to. This, my friends, is our impressions. Throughout the many genres of video games, RPGs are one of the most highly regarded amongst the community. The hours you spend exploring vast worlds, meeting intriguing characters, and enhancing your skills to take down massive foes. One of the most well-known series of RPGs just so happens to be today's focus, Final Fantasy. I myself have dabbled into the series, from Final Fantasy X to the amazing XIII Remake, and I plan on playing the other games in due time. Though, being a fan of Kingdom Hearts, there's one number I'll never get used to. 13. Final Fantasy XIII is considered one of the more divisive games of the franchise. Critics seem to enjoy it, while fans didn't know what to think of it. And seeing as how this was a series' first jump into the 7th generation of consoles, I went ahead and bought the trilogy anyway. Curiosity can often drive your decisions. In this case, how can this be the one to split opinions apart? I finally decided to pop it in, and yeah, I can sort of see why. But first, holy Ultima, did Square know this would be on the PS3? The cutscenes are beautiful, with so much detail and pizzazz, I had my mouth dropped several times. And though I only had time to explore one major place, I never got bored of seeing it like I thought I would. The characters look great, and the enemies, the few I saw, also looked just as good. I would like to say the same thing about the music, but I think I would need time to settle in, as grandiose as it usually is with Final Fantasy. Since I mentioned characters, I'm sure those who played the game wonder what I think of them, and honestly, I feel like I don't have enough for a concrete point. Yes, I know it's an impression, but there's only one character I had a true thought about, and that's Emo Cloud 2.0, Lightning. Since I played Dissidia NT, I got to know her beforehand, and yeah, nothing really changed going into 13. Unless she gave exposition about her character, it was either short sentences or dead silence. The action scene with her was cool, but now I got a better understanding of why everyone said this was Square's attempt at replicating Cloud. Snow was someone else I got to meet earlier, but apparently that Snow isn't this Snow. Rather, Snow from the sequel or something. My head hurts. You know his goal, and well, I guess going deeper into the game will sort out my thoughts. Especially since 13's party is apparently the most hated of the series. I'm not seeing it yet, though granted, I was only 1 hour into a 50-hour adventure. I thought the story would help, and it sort of did. I'm saying that a lot, aren't I? What I got was, you're in the world of Cocoon, and those not worthy are exiled to Pulse, or so to have believed. Instead, those people are executed by the government, and our heroes just happen to be in the middle of it all. That's as far as the story went, at least without me going into details the game expects you to know. Many new words are introduced as well as concepts, with the game gunning head first without giving its players a second thought. To be fair, there is a data log that goes into further detail, as does the manual, but that's like Mortal Kombat X hiding several story details behind the in-world comics. I'm sure the story gets easier to digest the more you get into it, but don't be surprised if you were as confused as I was at first when starting. What you'll most likely be confused by, though, is the gameplay, and buckle up, there's a lot to go through. First, the game is very linear, at least at the start. It's point A to point B, with some corners to feel explorative. I can only compare this to Final Fantasy X, since at times it was linear too, though from what I hear, 13 is somehow more linear, so be forewarned if you like RPGs more open. But since it's linear, you'll be running into battles, a staple for RPGs, and I can't move. No, I'm not moving Lightning, she's moving herself. Oh boy. For those who played XIII Remake, you'll remember the ATB system. that when charged allows you to use abilities and spells. Well, it's here in 13, but it's used for almost everything. Attacks use ATB, abilities use ATB. The only commands that don't use it are items. Your gauge builds over time, and when full, you can execute commands to hurt your enemies. Apparently the game gets more complex over time, with new gameplay elements and leveling up like Final Fantasy X, but I didn't get that far to experience it myself. I like what's here and want to see more, and that actually sums up my thoughts and the impression. I want to see more of the characters, the world, the interesting boss designs. I need to see where it goes. So, in a way, it's another successful impression. But be forewarned, this isn't a normal Final Fantasy experience. I could get that feeling just within the first hour. There are changes you may like and may not. It depends on your preferences. If you're open to that, you just might enjoy Final Fantasy XIII. Will you like it enough to go for the rest of the trilogy? Well, that's one impression I might come across in the future. Another Sunday, another impression. Thanks so much for watching this one of Final Fantasy XIII. This is definitely a game I'm going to have to stream in the future, and while I have other games planned first, all in due time. If you enjoyed what you watched and you want to see more, well, you know what to do. Thanks for watching, please stay safe, take care, and I'll catch you later.